Welcome to What the Ish. I'm your host, Patricia San Pedro. Today we welcome Leslie McGuirk, an internationally acclaimed astrologer, author, artist, and advisor to numerous global thought leaders. What's in store for 2022? Find out with astrologer Leslie McGuirk. Astrologer, teacher, artist, author. I could just go on and on about you, Ms. Leslie McGuirk. I am so happy that you're joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
I just think, what you do is great, and you do so many different things and you help so many people. I would love to start this podcast a bit different than what I normally do, and that's to start backwards. I think I'm just in a backward mood today. I normally would end with what I'm going to ask you now. But I want to do it in the beginning, and then we'll work our way to the beginning. So what I would love for you to start us with is a little sneak peek at 2022. A little sneak peek, because I know that you have a book coming out that's going to give us a lot more information on that. And then you can certainly talk about that. I want to hear all about it. But you think you can share just a little sneak peek as what's coming? Because this is the last podcast of the year.
Right. That's exciting to be the grand finale.
You are.
So basically, we are still coming out of the rubble of 2020. When the astrological aspects, which I was looking at in 2019 and 2018, we as astrologers, we're like meteorologists. We can just see the weather. And I knew back then that in early 2020, something was coming that was going to change life as we knew it. And I didn't really know exactly what it was, but it was a major meteorological, astrological event, which obviously was the pandemic. And we are still like crawling our way out of this. And the year of 2022 looks a little better than 2021. It looks like we're more walking rather than just crawling. But there are a bunch of things that are pretty intense. And I want to give your listeners a couple of dates that I think are worth writing down. So we've got on March 1st of 2022, there's a particular aspect that I'm not super happy about. I don't know what this will bring, but I tell everyone, don't freak out, because it's just weather. When we know a hurricane's coming, we just know that that's part of nature. That's pretty much what's happening right now. And all of these cycles, I believe, are to help us to wake up, because we've been living in a horizontal framework where that's not going to work any longer. We have to be more integrated vertically with the spiritual realm and with Mother Earth. So as above, as below, that whole vertical connection is where I try to help people, because if we stay stuck in this plane, we're just going to really have a difficult time with what's coming in the next several years. That makes sense, right?
Yep.
Okay. So we have a solar eclipse on April 30th in Taurus. That's another big day for people to write down. Solar eclipses, you feel them 2 days before and 4 days after. So that period towards the end of April, beginning of May might be a little funky as well. We also have a lunar eclipse on May 10th or 16th, May 16th. So again, 2 days before, 4 days after, you just want to write it down in your calendar. And then another one on November 8th. So again, just know that things are funky then. So if we know that it's coming, you prepare just like you prepare for a snowstorm or a hurricane.
How do you prepare, if you don't mind my asking?
Sure. Well, what you need to do is lay low, basically, and not overreact to whatever happens. Like I have a client right now who I told her these months right now of October, November, December are gnarly and difficult. I said, don't expect it to be anything but that. Her sister just got diagnosed with cancer and she just fell off a bike. Then she thought she'd broken her foot. It was like nonstop. And I said, listen, didn't I tell you this is not an easy time? It's just like the roads are slippery. So what do you do when the roads are slippery, Patricia?
Slow down.
You slow down, you get the proper shoes, and you don't try to go, dancing when the roads are slippery. It's like you're going to fall. that's all you have to do. And if you work with the energy of what is, then it doesn't have to be horrible. So February, March, and April look pretty good. As I said, March 1st, I'm a little worried about that date. It's just kind of stressful.
That's my dad's that's my dad's 92nd birthday.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That's amazing. Wow. And the other thing I want to say to anyone who's an Aquarius person, Saturn has been in Aquarius for a while, and it's still there until March of 2023. So Saturn is the taskmaster drill sergeant planet. And when it's sitting in a sign, the people who have Aquarius or a lot of Aquarius planets, they just feel like they're in the training period for the Olympics. Don't look at it as negative. Think about someone like Michael Phelps. He doesn't win the gold medal unless he has a coach that's pushing him. That's what Saturn is. It's like the coach that's pushing you to get to where you want to go. And then when Saturn leaves, you're like, whew, I get to get my medal.
Right.
So Jupiter is in Aries, which is going to be for the summer of 2022. And Jupiter is the planet of good fortune. So Aries has been having a tough time the last couple of years because, yeah, it's been.
That's me.
Yeah. So you've been living with the planet that I say is like living inside a pinball machine. It's been very, very stressful. And it's very difficult to feel calm when that energy is going on. So it's going to start to get better for you in the summer.
Yay.
So that's great.
Yay.
But yeah, it's very, very important for people to realize that astrology is the same as weather. And we are the same as every other animal on the planet. So I use the example of a donkey and a thoroughbred racehorse. A donkey is never going to win the Kentucky Derby. It's not designed for that. We do not get angry at a donkey for not being able to win the Kentucky Derby, but we do this kind of judgment around people when we think they should be something that they're not. So that's why I call astrology the language of compassion, because we accept animals for being what they are, and we forget that we are an animal. We're part of the animal kingdom. It's a kingdom, and we're at the head of the kingdom, I suppose, because we have thumbs and, brain, and we can create and do things, but we're certainly not the biggest and the strongest of all the animals on the planet.
Right.
And it's about time we connect, I think, with some other people. I call them people, but animals to me are like people. Who else is in our kingdom? And we need to connect with that better.
Absolutely. This is great. It makes me think. I have a friend that is just looking at the future in such a negative way, just down in the dumps, depressed about the future of humanity, the future of like the children and the grandchildren. And I try to explain, that it's also it's a cycle, like you said. It's like the weather. I mean, what do you say to someone like that? Because I think there's a lot of people like that are looking at a lot of different aspects of things that we're going through now that don't look so great.
I believe thoughts become things. So I have many, many examples in my life where things that I thought about came true because I thought them so vigorously. So I would suggest to these people, if you don't want that outcome, I wouldn't think about it so much. If everyone's thinking that, then that could be the probable outcome. So I do believe we are far more powerful as creators than most people realize. And I think that actually can I tell you the story about how words manifest? So everyone, when they hear this story, they will never forget it.
Tell me, please, because I'm a huge believer that thoughts become, prayers and become real.
Even more important than a prayer is the power of the spoken word. Whatever you say, it's like it vibrationally goes out there. And we live in an electromagnetic universe. Our bodies have an electromagnetic pattern. When I speak to you right now, that's going out into the airwaves, and people, for years possibly could be listening to this. I mean, think about how magical that is. It's something you can't see. You can't see my voice. It's an electromagnetic thing.
Right.
So anyway, that's why I think spoken words are so incredibly powerful. So here's what happened. I was dating this guy, and he never said my name ever. And I one day said to him, you know, you never say my name. And he said, Leslie, 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 Leslie. And I broke up with him over it. I thought, you know what? This guy is really not there for me. So I told him, these were my exact words. I can't stand the way I feel in this relationship. I need a month off. I need a break. I need a break from you. Okay, those were my words. I then went to see my publisher in Boston because I write and illustrate children's books in addition to being an astrologer. So I'm up there and she decides to take me down the back steps through an alleyway at night. And guess what happened?
You fell.
I fell and broke. So I couldn't stand. I got the break and it was going to take at least a month. I got a month off. I had to move in with my mom. At that point, I had 3 dogs. I couldn't take care of myself because I had 3 dogs. And right before I broke my foot, I gave my mother a puppy. And I literally said this to at least 3 people. I probably only said this sentence 3 times in my life. But I think because I'm a powerful creator, I have to be super careful with everything I say. So this is what I said. I kind of shot myself in the foot giving my mother a puppy because now I don't have a pet sitter, dog sitter for me. I said it like 3 times. Okay. I move in with my mom. I've got my broken left foot so I could still drive. I wanted to try to help her out. So I went to Home Depot to do an errand. And while I'm in the insecticide aisle on my crutches, my elbow hit a can of insecticide and I shot myself in the foot and re-broke my foot so badly that it was much worse than the first one.
Oh my goodness.
So I then went back and I'm lying in bed at my mom's house, just absolutely broken in every way. Emotionally, I felt every part of my life was broken. And I thought, Leslie, look at what you said. Everything you said came true in your body almost instantly. And I thought, if that's the case, then I'm going to do an experiment and I'm going to practice every day saying everything I want to have happen. And so I sounded like a crazy person, but I would say out loud, I'm the luckiest person I know. Things are turning out better for me than I ever could possibly imagine. I would just say it over and over and over again. And all of a sudden, all these miracles started happening. And that's a whole nother story of what I manifested. But I believe that one of the reasons for this shift with the COVID virus and shifting us from the horizontal framework to the vertical is to wake us up to realize that we could have a beautiful time here on this planet if we realize that we are animals and that we are creators and it doesn't have to be this ugly. But right now, there's a lot of there are a lot of people who don't understand all of this. They don't even know how to speak this language. That's why I'm thrilled whenever anyone invites me to talk to them. If I reach 1 or 2 more people and get them to think, if you have any problems in your life, try considering what you've been saying to yourself. Like one of the things people say all the time, and it makes me crazy. Oh, I'm dying to see her. I'm dying for a cup of coffee.
Oh, I can't.
That is so bad.
I can't do that. Yeah, I point that out to people too, of course.
So whenever someone says that, I'm like, and don't say, oh, she's such a pain in the neck. Or, oh, what a pain in the butt. Like, oh my God, you're going to get a neck ache and hemorrhoids. You know, it's like ridiculous.
It's so true. It's so true. And I believe that. And honestly, I practice it. You know, when I was diagnosed with cancer, my words were, thank you, God, for my great health. Thank you for my vitality. Thank you for, you know, I just kept manifest. I didn't ask for them. I spoke the words as if they were true. And I believe that attracted health and healing to my life. So I'm a huge believer in that.
That's great. Yeah. So that's what I tell people. I agree. If you allow your vision to go to all the many horrible things that are going on right now, you will be depressed.
That's right.
Whatever you focus on is what you're going to have. And so we have a choice.
Yeah.
We still have a lot of beautiful things. Like right now I'm in New Hampshire and walking in the woods and looking at the mushrooms and the leaves and hearing the wind blow. Like how can I complain? Everything is beautiful right now in this moment. If I start when I'm on the walk thinking about what's happening in Afghanistan or in the inner cities or with people dying, I mean, I'm going to ruin my day.
Exactly. Exactly.
And there's just so much I can do. I'm helping people all the time, and I know I'm doing what I can. If we each do the best we can every day,
Hmm.
then that's great. So a lot of people say to me, well, Leslie, you should be looking at your astrological transits every day and see what's happening. And I say, I never do that. You know why? It doesn't matter to me. I wake up and I do the best I can every day. I look at the long range kind of weather to see what's happening, but I don't
Hmm.
need to know every day what's up there in the sky. It's like I'm living my life. I'm in control, not those planets.
Right. I love that. So now I see why. And I was going to ask you about this. I've read that some call you a soul doctor.
So
I love that. I want to know what that means.
so that term was given to me by Dr. Pat Hopkins. She went to Holy Cross and Dartmouth Medical School. She's a rheumatologist, head of the Greater Boston Functional Medicine Group. So she's a really excellent Western trained doctor. And she's taken my astrology classes, and I've worked with her charts, her entire family, and she has seen what I have done with understanding the design of her family and of the different people and how they all work together. So Western doctors deal with the physicality of a human, but they're not dealing with the internal electromagnetic pattern or the personality or the history. I'm looking at the entire soul of a person. I can see childhood trauma. I can see, the way the parents were, how you were raised. I can see what your major life lessons are. Without understanding the human being at this deeper level, you're only treating the shell that we're in. So that's why she calls me a soul doctor.
I love that. And that has to do with what you say. I know in your bio, you say creating a bridge between Western medicine and the esoteric science of astrology.
Yes, it used to be you couldn't get a medical license unless you knew how to read an astrology chart. And Carl Jung
Oh, I
was a
didn't
very
know
famous,
that.
no, most people don't know that. Carl Jung, he was during the same time as Freud. He would never look and visit with a patient unless he had read their chart. And Freud said to him, "What are you doing? You're crazy. This is ridiculous." And Carl Jung said, "I can't stop. It's too accurate." So I say I'm 95% accurate. I sit down with total strangers. I don't know anything about them. How could I be accurate if it wasn't a science? It's not a hard science. It's an esoteric science. It's no different than acupuncture. Acupuncture, you could go to 50 different acupuncturists and have a different experience. Same is true with astrology. An acupuncturist is working with the electromagnetic system, the meridians, and an astrologer is basically reading the patterns of a body. And it's like a car, we have an owner's manual. That owner's manual does not predict the future. It just tells you the way the car is designed.
Right.
That is what astrology is. So I'm working with a doctor right now from NYU who saw me teaching at Rancho La Puerta, and he didn't really know that much about astrology, but he saw I was working with like a group of 60 people, moving them around the room according to their communication styles. And he was shocked at how accurate I was with this large group. And he said, "Leslie, if what you're doing is really accurate, imagine how this could help doctors with treating their patients." I said, "Absolutely. If you're open, let's do an experiment." I said, "Send me some of your most difficult patients." So I said, here are the ground rules. So you know that I can't Google these people. You send me their birth date, time, and place. I don't have their name. I don't have their email. I don't know where they live. I just know where they were born. Have them meet me on a free conference line number. I'll call them patient number 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And so we started doing this. And in every case, this doctor said you were higher than 95% accurate with all of them. And one of the women that I worked with is someone who's now one of my biggest fans, because she, for 6 years, could not get healthy. She was so sick and no one could figure out what was the matter with her, including this particular doctor. He said, no doctor can figure out why she's so sick. I figured out what was the matter with her in 1 hour. And this woman is now a completely brand new person. Last week, I had a client about 2 years ago who had massive, horrible migraine headaches. And the headaches had lasted for 5 years. She went to many neurologists. She had PET scans and MRIs. She had the Botox shots in her head. They were getting worse and worse. Her mother heard me getting interviewed on Coast to Coast Radio with George Norrie. She said, you got to call this woman. And this particular woman with the headaches didn't want to call me because she had been to 3 other astrologers and nobody helped her. So finally, the mother said, listen, if you don't do it, I'm going to pay for it and you're going to have a reading with Leslie. So I did. And I could tell the minute I got on the phone with her, she was like, this is such a waste of time. I actually love it when I have a client who feels that in the beginning, because then I know I'm going to turn them around. So it's kind of fun for me. So she, after an hour, I knew exactly why she had the migraines. I knew exactly what she needed to do to get rid of them. She did everything I said. And this woman would now follow me to the ends of the earth because she said they're completely gone. And she went to all the doctors that had helped her and told them what I had prescribed, what I had said she needed to do. And not one of them wanted to hear about it. And none of them wanted to hear that an astrologer is the one who helped her.
That's unbelievable. So so I really don't know much about this, as I'm sure a lot of the viewers and listeners here don't either. How does astrology, I guess in layman's terms, do that? How do you do that? What do you get at? You get that through the astrology, you get at the root cause of the problem, of her disease? Exactly. How does that work?
Exactly. It's like if you chop down a tree, if you don't pull out the roots, you're not really getting the tree gone. I mean, not that you want to get a tree gone. That's not the best example, no. But in the chart, the wiring, basically, I'm looking at you like you're a car. And if I see you have a flat tire or you're out of balance, or I can figure out how you can get in balance. And all health issues are from an imbalanced situation. Something got out of whack because the body is not designed to be sick. We either put things in our bodies that make us sick, or emotional stress can make us sick. There are many things that can cause illness. Sometimes it's genetic. And yesterday I did the chart for a father whose son is a paranoid schizophrenic. I saw this kid's chart and I thought, I didn't know he was paranoid schizophrenic. I said to the father, this kid has got major emotional issues. I said, most people maybe have 1 or 2 indications of that. This kid had like 7. So I don't diagnose people. Like, I didn't know he was paranoid schizophrenic. I knew he was in deep trouble and was born with it. There's not a lot I can do for people like that, except for have compassion and realize it is what it is. That's just the way he was designed.
And then do you work hand in hand with the doctors that do work with you? And then they—
Yes, well, I have a bunch of doctors that call on me. I've even worked with veterinarians too.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so, a dog has an owner manual as well, or a cat. So yeah, especially if they have a really difficult case, they can't figure out what the problem is. I can give them the trail to follow to figure out where the problem is. Let me think of a lot of psychotherapists I've worked with over the years. There's one therapist in Florida that when he first met me, he didn't know anything about astrology, but I sent so many people to him that I basically, when he does lectures around the world now, he says an astrologer is what helped build up his amazingly successful practice, which got so big because I can't fix anybody. That's right. When I'm like the diagnostic person, and then you have to go to the mechanic, who's the doctor.
Right.
But there's a lot of trauma in the world. There's a lot. I think almost everyone has post-traumatic stress disorder right now. Just from last year, you have it. But there's so much childhood trauma. It's just insane.
So this brings me to your ish. When I initially asked you about your ish, it seems like your ish was that you weren't fully living your life's mission, or that you were living your life's mission-ish, and that led you to learning and teaching. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's always been really difficult for me to figure out. It's almost like I have too many things going on all the time. And right now, I'm a full-time astrologer, and I'm actually an artist and a writer. And I'm not doing that part of my life at all. So I'm out of balance at the moment. I want to get back to being more creative because that feeds my soul. I just can't be here for all of humanity. There's just one of me. I'm trying to teach more people how I do what I do. So any of you out there listening, the best way to access who and what I have to give is to take my classes, because the one-on-one readings, I may have to stop doing them. Like, I don't know if I can continue giving at this level. It's just because the need is so great and there's just me. So I'm better off reaching a larger group of people, teaching them what I know, rather than just doing these one-off readings. Does that make sense?
Of course it does. I think that whole balancing our lives, with what we love, right? And our passion and our mission and our work it's just not an easy balance. So I love hearing you say that. I mean, not that I love that that's the issue with you, but you're human. And even when you're, advanced and maybe have a lot more wisdom maybe than the typical person, we all struggle with the same things. What is the numb zone? I've heard that associated with something you talk about, the numb zone.
Right. So what that is, adults tend to approach life from their head. They try to use logic to solve problems. Children live in a more chaotic zone. They are always experimenting and playing, and they come up with wild ideas. And what happens is that we, as adults, if we get stuck in our head and we don't dip into the more creative, intuitive, chaotic part of ourselves, our heart, our child soul, we can end up being basically what I call an adult zombie, where you're just dull. There are a lot of people walking around who don't feel very alive. Part of the problem is that they're trying to live their life from their head, and they try to figure out with their head what to do next. And that's not where the answer is never going to come from, in my opinion, unless you're dealing with like a mathematical or financial problem. That's a head thing.
Right.
But in terms of a major life decision, for example, this client I had just 2 days ago, she's miserably unhappy where she lives. She doesn't have any friends, and she doesn't like her town, and she's just everything about it. Her place got flooded. And I was like, have you thought about moving? Have you thought about going someplace that would make you happy? Because you're not with your people. You're not happy. And that's where I get tired, when I can't shift people. They have to shift themselves. But the point of this story is that her heart is sad. If your heart is sad, you need to shift. You need to do something. And I told her, just break patterns of what you're doing every day. Do something every day that you've never done before, whether it's taking a walk on a new street, or go square dancing, or go bowling. Just do something different, because until we break the pattern, we all tend to loop. And sometimes you just need to make a shift. And when you're driving a stick shift car, in order to get from one gear to another, you have to put it into neutral.
Right.
If you have a clutch, right? So people are afraid, because when they're in neutral, it means you have no control over your life. And it's scary. So if she decides to move, she's going to be like, but I don't have any friends anywhere. I don't know what to do. I told her, look, I have moved twice in my life to places where I barely knew anybody. And you just make it, it's fun.
Yeah.
You can start over.
That's right. Not everyone is so brave. I would call it brave.
It is brave, but the alternative is the numb zone. You're dead. You're a zombie. I'd rather take a chance at being alive than to stay numb. And whenever I've had to do, I've gotten stuck on the numb zone many times in my life. Look what that story of the broken foot. I was broken. I was down and out. I had felt no joy in my life at that time, and I had to shift it. But I think you're right. I'm sure, because of the way I've lived my life, I'm probably a lot more adventurous than the average person.
Yes.
But I have found that every time I'm adventurous, something really, really good happens. Always.
Right.
Playing safe is a recipe for turning into an adult zombie.
I agree with you
And
100%.
I know my mom had these neighbors when she was still alive, who I was talking to them about where they like to go out to eat. And they said, oh, we always go here. We always go here. I said, every place you're mentioning is north. Have you ever gone south? They looked at me like, we have never turned right on Route 1 ever.
Oh my goodness.
We only go to Route 1 and we always go left. And I said, have you ever thought, you've lived here for 20 years? Have you ever thought of going right and exploring Jupiter and Pompeii? They had never gone right. And I thought, oh my God, the people who are stuck
Yep.
are very, very difficult. I can be around them for a little bit,
Yep.
but it scares me because if I stay stuck, I can't be me.
Oh, I can't breathe. To
Right,
me,
exactly.
it's like, and I have a friend that is like that, you know, and she's afraid to venture out to places that she's never been. And when she does, which is almost never, she takes someone with her first before she really has to go on her own to make sure that it's safe. And it's all based on one prior experience that she had many years ago, getting lost in a place that, you know, just didn't seem friendly to her. Nothing happened, but now everything is based on that moment and that fear.
Well, she needs something called EMDR therapy because she's basically looping in the trauma and she can't snap out of it. That can be a biological thing. She may not have a lot of ability to shift that. But here's the point. If you know you've got a problem and there's a tremendous amount of fear about something, you need to figure out how to unhook yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, again, it all comes down to you. You're the one driving your car. You get to decide if you're going to go left or right or stay stuck in your garage.
Right.
A lot of people are stuck in their garage, and that's never, in my opinion, what you were designed to do.
That's right. And boy, how boring that is, at least to me.
We are the opposite of that, so we can't relate to it, but there are a lot of people out there like that.
I love when I met Leslie. She was friends with a friend of mine, with Tammy, and I ended up going to a spa by myself because I had no one to go with. See, that's one of my little things that bothers me, like the living solo and doing a lot of things solo. That's one of my things. That's one of my issues. And I said, I'm going to go to this place in Utah by myself. And I walk in and there's Leslie, who I'd never met, but knew of, who was there teaching.
That was crazy. That was amazing. Because I was driving up to this spa in Utah and I was on the phone with Tammy and she said, my best friend's going to be there. You're going to meet, and you both live in Florida, but you're going to be meeting in Utah. It was a great time and we had so much fun. And see, if you hadn't taken that leap of faith and just gone,
Yep.
You wouldn't have had that a magical time. And that's what I say to people. When you do things that scare you, usually something really good happens, not something bad, especially if you're following your heart and doing something that actually feels good. I'm not talking about doing something scary like going into, New York City at 2 a.m. and hanging out in a bar. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about going to something that makes you feel alive.
Out of your comfort zone.
Yes. But go to places where you have a little bit of excitement. Oh, I think that might be fun to take up knitting. I don't know what it is, just anything.
Right. I love that. And look where it brought us.
Yes, exactly. Here we are.
To today. I was reading something that you also do things with corporations, and you've been called, I love this. I keep finding things that you're called this or you're called that. It cracks me up. You're called the Icebreaker Queen.
Yes. So David Adler owns a company called BizBash, and BizBash.
I know them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They do, corporate, like how to plan fun things for corporations. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he met me at Rancho La Puerta as well. And he saw, I have this very unusual workshop called The Quest for Inspiration, where I take a group of people who don't know each other and I memorize everybody's names. I have these exercises where people are interacting with each other. And he said, oh my God, you could take a group of total strangers and get them to enjoy playing. I actually teach people how to play. I would love to do my workshop with the senators or Congress, I would love to
Oh.
do, there's something happening where people are no longer relating to each other as humans. And so I'm really good at getting everybody in the room to be the same, which is basically, if you look at it, everyone was once 5, 6, 7 years old.
Yep.
And we all have this ability to play and to interact at a non-intellectual level. So anyway, this workshop that I invented, I did it at Rancho La Puerta, and in the audience were all these corporate New Thought leaders who said, you got to do this at my job. So I've been the keynote speaker at AARP. I've done this workshop at a lot of banks, Wilmington Trust and Wachovia Bank. I've taught at the Jim Henson Company. I've taught on cruise ships. I was just in Tahiti on the Paul Gauguin cruise ship right before
I'm
COVID.
so sorry. So sorry.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I have this, again, every single thing that's good in my life came because I did something that was a little scary.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I had never taught before. And all of a sudden, I came up with this idea for a class, and they at first said, nobody wants to take that class, Leslie, and you've never taught. We're not going to let you do it. Well, I didn't give up. I just kept trying and trying. And then once I finally was able to teach it, I've been breaking attendance records for 20 years.
that's so great.
Because I understand human beings. I understand that they're scared. Nobody wants to walk into a room where they don't know anyone.
Right.
Everyone wants to be heard and seen. Remember I told you about the boyfriend who never said my name?
Yes.
One of the things I'm obsessed with is saying the names of people in my classes. I can memorize up to 60 names. If you want to feel loved, just watch if the people who love you ever say your name. There are a lot of husbands and wives who never say their husbands or wives' names. Or how often do you say the name of your coworkers?
Right.
It's really important. In Australia, the Aboriginal people, they all believe that naming something is one of the biggest acts of love and kindness you can do. So when you name a cow or a child or a company, that saying somebody's name is a really beautiful thing to do. It's like your little song. It's your vibrational little handle. And if no one ever says it, you kind of feel like you don't matter.
And that's such a simple thing to do.
That's right. That's a homework assignment for everyone out there. It can change your life.
I love that. I love that. Tell us about your, because I forgot to ask when you gave us the little sneak peek at 2022, you have an upcoming book?
No, not a book. I'm just going to be doing something that I'm going to be selling online about the upcoming year. Yeah. So it's not a book. Not yet.
Where will people find that?
Well, they should join my mailing list. So they should just go to my website, lesliemcguirk.com. They can email me. As I said, if anyone wants a reading, it's a long wait. But the best thing to do is to take my classes or just sign up for my mailing list. And then as I start hopefully having more time to put more material out there in the world, at least they can be a part of it. So I'm trying to reconfigure my life right now so that I can help more people and not get stuck in the trenches of just the daily one-off readings all the time, because that's not sustainable for me.
So then your challenge is, how are you bringing creativity back to your life, and how are you bringing your art? Tell them a little bit about your art.
So I've written and illustrated 20 children's picture books. One of my books is not illustrated. It's a photographic book. It's called If Rocks Could Sing. It was nominated as one of the top 10 children's books of the year. And it's every letter of the alphabet. I found the rock on the beach in Florida, and they were not photoshopped. So I have every letter from A to Z in rock formation. And I also found objects to go with each rock. So people should definitely check out that book. And then I've got a whole series.
I'm sorry, wait. I want to go back to that a second, because it took you a long time to find the K, and that taught you a lesson.
Yes, 10 years. I had the entire alphabet, but I had no rock for K. And people kept saying, Leslie, we'll just glue it together and then you'll have your book. I said, no way. This has to be real. I'm all about being authentic. So here's the life lesson about the K. What was I going to do to make the K show up? What I was going to do, live on the beach and stay there 24 hours a day waiting for it? I had to trust that one day it would show up. And that's true for those of us who are single, like you and I are single.
Yes.
What are you gonna do? You can go out there on the beach and you can look for it,
Mhm.
but you have to, there's this art of allowing. All of a sudden, you can't force the ocean. Give me my rock. I need the K where it's not
I
gonna,
feel the K. I feel the K. I see the K.
yes. So I don't know why it took so long. I don't understand timing at all, but it did show up, and the book is super cool. And then all my children's books are mostly about Tucker, my little white dog. He was a Westie, and I've done all the holidays. So there's Tucker's Spooky Halloween, and Tucker's Ho 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 Tucker, and Tucker Digs Easter, and Gobble Gobble Tucker. I've done all the holidays. They're really cute, and kids love them. And I've got a book on manners for children called Wiggins Learns His Manners at the Four Seasons restaurant, which is no longer in existence, sadly, but the owner of the restaurant is a good friend of mine, and we did a book together. And it's probably my, in terms of illustrations and artwork, it's probably my favorite book of all the ones I've done.
And you are really famous in Japan.
There used to be a time where you would go into any department store in Japan and there'd be a whole section called The World of Leslie and McGuirk. So I was a name designer, just like Calvin Klein or Ralph Lauren. And I did the redecoration of the Tokyo Disneyland Hotel. And
Wow.
there was it was a big deal back then. And I'm trying right now to get rid of that word.
Yeah.
I am manifesting bringing all of that amazing artwork and products that I did in Japan back into the marketplace again. So that's something I'm working on at the moment.
Very cool. Very
Yes.
cool. Okay.
So I'm a busy girl, as you know. Only
Yes, you are. And when you were in Florida, we tried to see each other. That didn't work out.
It almost happened in New Hampshire. It will happen.
It will happen. We will manifest this.
That's exactly right. We will.
So this has been so joyful and informative. I love talking to you. Leave us with a little something, a little ray of hope. Let me put that out there. Putting you on the spot here.
That's all right. I can think of something. I think the thing I believe really firmly is that we as humans, we think we're so powerful, and we are, but Mother Nature has us beat big time. The weather, we have no control over the weather, and the planet is really look, she sustains us, right? And the sun, we don't survive without the sun. So we are connected to this whole cosmic system. So I think if people can just start being a little bit more connected to the earth and paying a little more attention to the sky, and remembering that we all have to live being more conscious of our place here and taking better care of this beautiful round ball that we live on. I think that's the fastest, best way to get more connected to nature, can help solve a lot of problems. I think that would help a lot of the mental illness issues that we've got. I think it would help a lot of the health issues people have. I think we spend way too much time on our instruments instead of with the earth. So I think if we can all just get de-escalate the effects of technology, I think that would be a great way to help change things.
I love that. I think that's perfect. And I will leave it by saying, go hug a tree.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
My friend, thank you
so much. I really appreciate you having me on, and it was great talking to you. And I'll see you in Florida.
I will see you in Florida.
Okay.
Take care.
Take
Bless
care.
you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.